probably tell you the trial of the moment, the trial of Scott Peterson, the trial of O.J. Simpson, whatever happens to catch the fancy of the moment. But those trials are often not enduring. To make a trial a great trial for purposes of this series of lectures, I'm going to focus on trials that both reflect important and dramatic aspects of the history of the time, but also trials that have an enduring importance. For example, the first trial we're going to look at is the Scopes monkey trial. It took place a long, long time ago, and yet, as I'm delivering this lecture today, there is a trial in a courtroom in the United States in which intelligent design is on trial. Several years ago, creationism was on trial. It's impossible to understand the current trials without looking back in time to the famous Scopes monkey trial. So let's begin with that trial. And it's set between the two world wars. And during that period of time, American history was marked by a fundamental change in the attitudes of many, many Americans. We were quickly changing from a Christian country, often a fundamentalist Christian country, to a country based on reason, science, progress, and the Enlightenment. Inevitably, there was going to be a clash. And the clash took place in a courtroom in Tennessee when the state legislature decided to ban the teaching of Darwin's evolution. What was Darwin's evolution? It was a simple scientific theory which had espoused the development of human beings, their evolution from single-celled creatures to other more complex creatures and ultimately to the human beings that populate the world. But the Bible describes the beginning of mankind very differently. In 6 days, God created the world, and human beings were part of his creation. They were created fully formed. There's no evidence of evolution in the Bible, and there's no suggestion of any kind of change. The fossil record is unexplained by the Bible. And so there was a science teacher, an obscure science teacher in Tennessee, who wanted to teach evolution. He had learned evolution in college, and he felt an obligation to his students to teach evolution. The problem was, to teach evolution in Dayton, Tennessee in 1925 was a crime punishable by fine and imprisonment. Now, the person who tried to conduct the class in teaching evolution, John Thomas Scopes, he fully understood that he was risking the wrath of the prosecutor and could conceivably be prosecuted for the crime of teaching. But he remembered Socrates and all the great teachers that had come before him and decided it was his obligation as a teacher to teach the truth and not to in any way become submissive to the powers of the law. Although Scopes figures heavily in the trial, as do the two major lawyers who were national figures, this is not so much a trial about people as it was a trial about issues. What was on trial was the Bible, or more specifically, the fundamentalist reading of the Bible. And many of us know the story of the Scopes trial from having either seen the movie or the play Inherit the Wind. It was a great movie. It was a great play. To personalize, it was the first play I had ever seen on Broadway, and it's part of what led me to become a lawyer. And when I saw the play, it was a clear clash of good versus evil. On the one side were the fundamentalists who described creation in a way that clearly defied what science had taught us over the last 100 or so years, and that side was led by William Jennings Bryan, a great populist, a man who would run for president of the United States on the Democratic Party ticket. He had made his famous speech about "Do not crucify America" on a cross of gold. He had opposed the gold standard because it was favorable to the wealthy and unfavorable to the poor. And he was a hero of many people in the United States, including my own grandparents, who had been immigrants and had come over here and saw William Jennings Bryan as somebody who